Welcome to Access Spotlight. I'm Travis Youssef. Today, I have the pleasure of sitting down with Ryan Kalata. Ryan is an independent candidate who is running to be the next U.S. representative of New York's 3rd Congressional District. Welcome, Ryan.
How
Thanks
are you?
so much. Yeah, good to have you.
Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah.
Pleasure to be here today. I'm definitely glad that I get the chance to tell people within the area about who I am, why I'm running, and to let people know that I am out there. Because, I filed my paperwork for run for the campaign back in August, but I've never really gotten a chance to get out there yet, mostly because of, people get busy in life, and I have a lot going on too. And part of when you're campaigning for a political office is you still have to do work to provide for yourself in the meantime, because political careers are contingent upon being voted in, and not so much a career that you apply to, be interviewed. Mm-hmm. You're hired by the people, you're fired by the people. That's how political careers work. Your constituents hire you based on who they want you to represent, and if they don't like you, they vote you out the next election cycle, or you vote yourself out by choosing not to run.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, welcome. Really happy to have you, Ryan. So talk to us. You're a lifelong Long Islander, right? You were born in Port Jeff,
yes.
Grew up in Patchogue, and now you currently reside in Holbrook.
Yep, that's correct. I was born in St. Charles Hospital on November 11th, 1991. I was born and raised in Patchogue on Highland Avenue, which is the western part of Patchogue. I'm not sure if everyone would know where that is, but in case you do, that's where I was born and raised. In 2022, my childhood home was sold, and my parents bought a house out in Riverhead, and I got my first apartment out in Holbrook, and that's where I currently reside.
Great.
I may not live within this district, but I am running to represent this district. I know Long Island very well because I've been around the island my whole life. As a lifelong Long Islander, I've been everywhere on the island, because growing up as a child and even as a teenager and even into my 20s and even today, I still go around places with family and friends, and I've gotten to know the whole island. I've gotten to know pretty much every part of the island, including most parts of this district.
So your parents are from Long Island as well?
Yes. My mother was born and raised in my childhood home was sold in 2022, and my father grew up in Smithtown.
Okay. So what is it that kind of keeps your family here, Ryan? On Long Island?
I think it has a lot to do with that. We like being on Long Island because there's a lot to do. Yes, it's expensive to live and taxes are high, but Long Island's a great place. I've always said to myself, I'm never going to leave Long Island. I don't care how expensive it is. I don't care about how much the taxes are. We have pretty much everything. We have lots of bodies of water to swim in. We have lots of fun activities to do. We have lots of places to go for people of all ages to have fun. We got plenty of parks and playgrounds for children to play on. We have recreational centers for children and teenagers. We have lots of restaurant and bars and arcades and all kinds of fun places for fun of all ages.
Yeah.
We also have plenty of happening communities with on Long Island that have a lot of bars and restaurants, which are good for a nice adult nightlife and stuff like that.
So what is it that keeps you here?
Pretty much everything I just mentioned above.
Yeah.
It's also that I've lived here my whole life, and I consider myself very loyal to hometown. I guess if you want to say this, I call myself a hometown man, because I pretty much I've lived on Long Island my whole life. I'm loyal to Long Island, and even though I don't live in the home I grew up in, I'm only maybe 5 miles from there. So
you're still close.
Yes.
Yeah. So you had mentioned before, Ryan, that you don't live in the district, but you want to run for this district.
Yes.
Why is that?
Well, what happened is that in the 2022 election, all this stuff came out regarding the Representative George Santos, who coincidentally was voted out on today's date this morning with 311 votes to vote him out. The expulsion vote itself needed 2/3 of the majority of the House to have him voted out, which meant that as long as they had the 290 votes, he's voted out, and they ended up getting 311. So what happened is that, like, see, all my life I've always had interest in government and politics, and even though it's not a subject it's not my most talked about subject among people, it's something I've always been interested in. You see, part of why I don't always discuss politics with everybody is because it's very personal to some people, and everybody has different opinions. You know, there's some people out there where if you disagree with them politically, they just get very defensive, and I'm not like that. I mean, I have a lot of friends and family members that have significantly different political beliefs from one another. And I think a lot of that because I have a lot of friends that, you know, lean towards the left, and I have a lot of friends that lean towards the right. And I think that between family and friends with all different political beliefs of all different areas, I feel that that's what pushed me very far to the center. Okay. Which is why I'm running as an independent. Yeah, meaning that, in other words, I'm basically the middle ground when it comes to the left-leaning Democratic Party and the right-leaning Republican Party. I mean, yes, both parties themselves have a lot of moderates. You have a lot of center-left Democrats and center-right Republicans, but independents ultimately the middle ground. Even though at the same time being an independent could mean that you lean very far towards one direction, it just pretty much means that you're independent from the party system, so to speak.
And now, are you the first one in your family to get into politics?
Well, I've had family members that had interest in politics, but it's not like, you know, really one of those things. I mean, I have plenty of family members, like my parents themselves, you know, aren't like, you know, big into politics. I mean, I'm bigger into politics than anything. If they want to know anything about what's going on in the political world, I'm the first person they ask about everything that's going on politically, what's going on in D.C., what's going on Long Island, pretty much anything that has to do with any kind of politics. If they heard something somewhere on the news, who's the first person that they call?
Ryan.
Yes.
Right? You're the go-to guy.
Yeah, I'm the go-to guy for pretty much all political issues. And not just my parents, but I believe like even other parts of my family too. I mean, I don't know as far as like who else in the family. I mean, they could be as into politics as I am and just don't talk about it much. But again, as I was saying before, politics can be very personal to some people, and a lot of times people get like very defensive over it. And that's just one of those things where one thing that, you know, I don't believe people should be doing to each other and people should be doing less of is gaslighting one another. And even though I didn't mention on my website, that is one thing that I will be campaigning on. I mean, I'm going to be the one where if elected, I'm hopefully that I can unify the House a little bit more, because between 435 House Representatives, well, on today's date, 434, because one of them was just expelled, but that seat could soon be filled and could be filled by me. But out of all the members of the House of Representatives and the 100 members of the Senate, I could say that we are very divided amongst each other. I mean, and yes, even though they all have significant political differences, I think people need to know how to reach across the aisle. And I feel like I'm the person that knows how to reach across the aisle, because I have very mixed stances on political issues that, and part of the thing is too, is that if somebody stances are identical to mine, I feel like that person has my vote.
Well, and I think not only that, like with government kind of, you know, the back and the forth, I think just overall America is kind of that back and forth, right? You know, people are either kind of really fired up or they're fed up.
Yes.
You know, so how do you think that you can bring back confidence in politicians and politics?
Bring back, you know,
the confidence in politicians and whatnot, you know, for someone like yourself, you know, that how do you think that the community can be confident in you that you're going to be able to get the job done?
I'll stick to what my commitments are. Like I already, like, you know, mentioned on my website several things I want to do if elected. Talk about, you know, improving infrastructure, which includes like, you know, our roads, bridges, tunnels, highways, buildings, sidewalks. I mean, the roads is a big part of it too, because I think this whole pothole problem is a mess. And I'm sure, you know, a lot of people can say that they have gotten flat tires from our potholes on Long Island. And it's no fault of any political leader. It's just the fact that a lot of these roads haven't been paved in so many years. In fact, the street that I grew up on, you know, my childhood home in Patchogue, in the 30 and a half years that I lived in that house, I don't recall that street being paved once. Like, I don't have any memories of getting off the school bus and seeing that my street was being paved. I have no memories of looking out the window seeing that my street's being paved. I have no memories of having to park my car on a side street because my street's being paved. So that probably means the last time my block was paved was either before I was born or it was done when I was just an infant and couldn't remember anything.
So clearly community is important to you.
Yes,
right?
community is important, connecting with people, getting people to get along with each other. I mean, it's not just over political issues, it's over personal issues as well, and being able to just, get people by. Because, one of the things that I'm noticing about our society right now, and this is something that's been ongoing for a very long time, is a lot of people seem very fed up. Like sometimes like when you're going places or you're making a right-hand turn on red and you don't turn as soon as it's your turn, people just start honking and say, come on already, let's go. Part of that is also that, like, it may not be that person themselves. I don't know who they are. They may not be an angry person, but it could just be that they're fed up. And I think one thing that we need to do is have people be less fed up and more of knowing how to know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, which there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm a firm believer of that. I think that as time goes on, things are going to get better. I think a lot of the situation we're in right now, as to why people are as fed up as they are, I think, the pandemic had a lot to do with why people are the way they are, because it has created a lot of the financial strain and a lot of the reason why our prices are up on so many things. Like anytime you go and fill up your gas tank, anytime you go to the grocery store, anytime you go and do anything, you can only say to yourself, why is everything so expensive? Like you see, like, the price of milk, the price of eggs, the price of bread, the price of all everyday essentials. I mean, gas prices right now are down compared to what they were like a few months ago. But the thing with gas prices, though, is got to keep in mind is that they constantly fluctuate. They're up one day and down the next. But just the fact that the overall cost of living is so high, a lot of that's driven by the pandemic itself, because during the pandemic, there was a lot of supply chain issues. It's like beginning of the pandemic in March 2020, people went out panic buying and they went out and bought a ton of stuff. They went out and blew out a store's inventory. You even went to a store like a 7-Eleven, which very rarely ever runs out of things like paper towels and toilet paper, but they cleared their inventory out. And the reason for that is that places like Costco and all the grocery stores already blew out of all their products. And I work within the food industry. I'm a merchandiser for Nabisco. I also write orders for them. So I'm kind of like a little bit of a merchandiser / mini sales rep for them. And I've worked in supermarkets. Pretty much my entire working career from the time I was 16 years old, getting my first job at Wallbaum's in Patchogue in February of 2008. I've worked within the food industry. And even though I don't work for a supermarket anymore, I go to various supermarkets and I pack out Nabisco related products. I write the orders. I assist sales reps in terms of selling product and trying to get it on display in other areas. And I offer any innovative insights that I have that could help our team succeed.
Well, and you have a lot of experience. I saw on your website almost 15 years of experience in the food retail.
Yep.
So you definitely understand prices and what they were at and what they're at now.
Yes. And I'll tell you, when I first started working at Wallbaum's in 2008, everything was significantly cheaper. I remember you used to have like Snapple 12 packs going on sale for $5.99. That's a price you'll probably never see again. You'll probably, you're lucky to see it at $8.99 or $9.99. And I'm not saying that the price itself has anything to do with the grocery store wanting to gouge their price to make it high. Well, first of all, they're not gouging their prices. They're selling it at or around what suggested retail is, but it's just, they have to have everything priced at a certain amount just based on how things are. And, like I was saying before, everything related to the pandemic had a dramatic impact on all these prices.
And I know that was one of the things that you had brought up on your website was talking about those issues. Talk to us, Ryan, about some of your top issues that you really want to focus on. I know that on your website it talks about abortion rights, gun rights and control, tax cuts, LGBTQ plus rights, so on and so forth. So tell us a little bit about which ones are important for you.
Well, a lot of them are pretty much important because they all have a lot to do with where I stand and in terms of who might get my vote and who might not. But I'm going to go down the line of a lot of those issues and explain how I feel because, like I said on my website and based on what it says, I'm campaigning upon a multitude of issues. So some issues are very high priority, some of them are very middle priority. I wouldn't say any of them are low because if they were that low of a priority, I wouldn't list it. Yeah.
Sure.
When it comes to abortion rights, I mean, I'm 100% pro-choice. I believe in abortion rights being protected for females anywhere from the time the child's conceived up until right before birth. And I know everybody's stance on abortion is different. Some people believe in a 15-week ban, 26-week ban. Some people believe in banning abortion altogether. Some people believe that, I'm pro-life, but I believe in, exceptions for rape or incest. Some people don't believe in it, but I believe in, abortion rights being protected to the fullest for all female human beings because I feel like, in 2022, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, it's a total violation of women's rights to give birth. And I feel that, in New York itself, pretty much we're a pro-choice state. And I don't think in the state of New York we have to worry about abortion being banned, but you never know what could happen when this election cycle comes up. If enough people get voted in and they put a nationwide abortion ban. Now, if it's banned across the nation, that would mean that a pro-choice state like the state of New York would unfortunately have to comply with a nationwide abortion ban. But I mean, I'm honestly not too worried about that, but I just wanted to put it out there that I am pro-abortion.
Well, and it also seems like you're just very much for rights for everyone.
Yes.
Which I think is important. Especially
Yes.
in today's atmosphere, everyone should be accepted no matter what.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, how many do you hope to achieve? If you do get elected, Ryan.
How much do I hope to achieve if I get elected? I hope to achieve pretty much everything I want to live up for. We'll have better paved roads, our infrastructure will improve, not just on Long Island, but across the board. But the reason I mention Long Island is because that's the area that I live in. And that's because as a representative for the district, this will be my primary area. But then I'll also be down in Washington, D.C. when the House is in session. And I could take any insightful information that I learn from being in the halls of Congress and I will pass it on to my constituents. Another thing I want to do too is I want to have the constituents have say in some of an influence in some of my decision making. Because here's here's one thing I mentioned on my website, and I'm going to mention it here too. You see, everybody in the House of Representatives and the Senate in any form of political office has at some point hit a fork in the road when it comes down to should I vote yay or should I vote nay on that bill. And this oftentimes results in a lot of times they vote present. Sometimes you'll see somebody voting present, and sometimes it means that I disagree with the issue, but I don't want to go against party lines. And other people, it means, well, there's this thing with the House Ethics Committee where a lot of them vote present, so their vote's neutral because the House Ethics Committee is supposed to investigate, ethics and morals among House representatives. In fact, they're the ones who just released the whole report on Santos, which explains why a lot of them changed their stance on whether to expel him or not. The last expulsion vote, people thought that a lot of people voted against it because they thought that it would only create chaos within the House. But that report was released and it had a significant change on a lot of House members. It got over 100 Republicans, and those are people within his own party.
Yeah.
It got almost all Democrats except for the 2 who voted nay and 2 who weren't present to vote. But they got enough votes and the seat is vacated. And, when it comes down to politics and everything, I want to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I want to be able to work with everybody. But, with everything going on with here, he was just, it needed to happen because he was very dishonest. And I am aware that a lot of the constituents in this area have not been happy with him from the time before he was even sworn in.
Sure. And so with all of your knowledge, with your love of politics, from growing up, it can be a thankless job, right? What is it that makes you want to run for Congress, Ryan?
I feel change needs to come to within the area, because I also want to be the one that lives up to what my commitments are. I mean, I'm not here to say that, that all politicians don't live up to what they say, and I'm not even going to say, if the majority do. But the thing is, too, is that, every election cycle, you always have politicians that campaign upon issues that they're going to do to fix things. They say, we're gonna improve roads, we're gonna improve school safety, we're gonna work on gun reform, we're gonna improve abortion rights, and then they get to office and they don't do any of that stuff. And another thing too is I also want to be there, and do my job as a representative. I don't want to be there to make a name for myself. I don't want to be part of what some people describe as the dog and pony show going on in U.S. Congress. And, I want to be the one who makes serious decisions. I want to be the one who, delivers impact,
you want to get the job done.
Yeah, want to get the job done. I want to have say on every vote. That's what I was saying before. But back to what I was saying before about the whole entire yay, nay, present thing. Now, what will happen if I hit a fork in the road and I'm not sure as to what to vote on? I'm not going to not vote, and I'm not going to vote present. But what I am going to do is, this is where I turn to my constituents. Sure. Then I conduct a poll among the constituents in my district. They will receive, I'm going to allow, residents, the option to opt out of text messages or emails if they don't want to, because a lot of times people don't like when they get
the personal information, right?
Or when they get hi, I live in District 1. My representative's Nick Lalota. I think he's a great representative. He's doing his job. He was one of the leaders in this whole entire ouster campaign for Santos, but he sends text messages to the constituents asking for their opinion. And some people don't like how they get the solicitation text. To that I say, I actually like those texts, because basically what he's doing is he's reaching out to his constituents to get an opinion on what to do. In other words, there was one issue, I don't remember what it was, but he said that something about should I vote against it even if it means blocking what my party has to say. And I voted yeah. In other words, he's reached out by email and text numerous times when he's unsure of what to vote. But that's because he's working in the interest of the people in the district. And that's what I want to do. I mean, the reason I say I'm going to give people the option to opt out of it is because I don't want people to have the reputation where, I keep getting these solicitation texts from Ryan Kalata, and, because of that, next election cycle, he won't get my vote. I want to be the one where, but I'm hoping, the majority of people will opt in. And that's when, bills come in. If there's a bill that hits my desk and I don't know whether to vote yay or nay, I'll poll the constituents and I'll go with what the majority says. If the majority of my constituents want me to vote yay, I'll vote yay. If they want me to vote nay, I'll vote nay. So that this way I'll have say on every single one of the bills. Now, as opposed to this isn't going to be the case with every single bill, because, every bill that I vote on is going to be based on how I feel.
Sure.
But I'm saying that I'll turn to my constituents in situations where I hit that fork in the road and I'm not sure on what to do. But that's, because I want to I don't want to have any present or NVs on my voting record. I want to have say in every single thing that comes on. And based on where I stand, I'm probably going to have a very diverse voting record.
So talk to me, Ryan, about what drives you.
What drives me to
what's your why?
In terms of why I want to run and stuff like that.
Life, and whatnot.
Yeah, well, I feel like, I'm very good, with people. I communicate with people all the time, and I feel like, being helpful to people and doing good for your community is something that, I feel would be good for me. And I feel like, I've never really had the chance to really, put those skills to work. I mean, within the industry I work on, I deal with customer interactions and I help them with their everyday needs. But I'm talking about dealing with beyond that. Like in other words, working within the grocery industry, I'm only dealing with customers within that store. I'm not helping them out with their day-to-day needs. I'm not helping them get their passport photos taken. I'm not helping them with difficult questions because that's not part of what my job is. But if I'm elected to Congress, I will be, I will help my constituents in every single way. And another thing I want to, incorporate into my my day-to-day life as a representative is I want to have around-the-clock phone lines, which means that I will have an office that has a typical 9 to 5 business hours. But that doesn't mean I'm a 9 to 5 congressman. That means that if you want to reach me after hours, they will be off-hours phone lines where, if you needed to reach me at 6 o'clock in the morning, my office is closed. But that would mean that, it would go towards, it would go towards, the option for me or one of my staffers to answer the call. So in other words, if my office is closed, we'll all get phone calls. It'll be me and all my staff, and it's a matter of who answers it. So so who will answer the phone? It'll either be me or one of the staff that works under me. I mean, I haven't really talked to anybody about who's going to work under my administrative cabinet if elected, but when the time comes, I will have people, I will appoint them, and I will have, we will be we will work as a great team.
That's great.
And we will help the district in every single way. And I feel that having around-the-clock phone lines is important because the 9 to 5 business hours that most representatives have are the hours that people work. So if people need to reach their representative and have questions for anything,
for sure,
it's like the only time they can do it is on their lunch hour, or if they take a personal day, or if they happen to have Wednesday as a day off because they work a weekend day. That's the only time they can come there. But now if I have around the clock phone hours, that means that if someone gets home from work at 7 o'clock, they're unwinding, they're cooking dinner, they're that they're feeding their kids, they're, having family time with them, but they need to reach my office about a question.
So
now, my office is closed. That means I'll always be available, which will mean that you call my number at 7 o'clock at night, and it'll go towards a system where it'll be me or one of my staffers could answer.
That's great.
Now, if I'm not in the middle of something, I will answer. I'll be like, "Hello, this is Congressman Ryan Kalata. How may I help you?"
Yeah.
They explain my issue, and then I go on about offering them a solution. And I'll probably be getting a lot of calls with a lot of the issues that are going on. I mean, in fact, my website itself has gotten a decent amount of traction. Now, I opened my website within a few days of my campaign, so my website's about 3 months old.
Great.
And I'm already getting... See, my website, I did it through Wix, and I get notifications anytime someone goes on my website.
Great.
And I'm starting to see, as I go out with my day-to-day life, my day-to-day job, I get random, new visitor from... It gives numerous locations. I mean, it might say, Star, Idaho, but that doesn't mean that someone from Idaho is viewing my account. Well, yes, maybe no, but that might just be, where the IP address is located, but it's good to know that my account is getting views. So that could mean that people are deciding who are they going to vote for in this upcoming election, and I could be the one that they do. I mean, especially based on my issues too, because another thing I mentioned too is that because aside from abortion too, another thing too is that with the whole entire two-party system with Democrats and Republicans, a lot of them seem to all think the same way, for the most part.
And that's why you're going independent.
Yes,
right?
Meaning that because I have a little bit of mix. In some areas I lean very liberal, in some areas I lean very conservative. And
so Ryan, last question here, because we're coming up on time here. Why is it important to go out and vote?
It's important to go out and vote so that we can have an accurate description on who the exact winner will be. Now, I will say that every single presidential election we've had is legitimate because presidential elections generally have enough people going out and voting, and that gives people a general idea of who's the most popular candidate. But in terms of seats like U.S. House, U.S. Senate, town councilman, county executive, county clerk, not everybody goes out and votes in those elections. And that's why sometimes you might have election results that seem like it should be the other way around. Like, in other words, like, you know, it's like sometimes I feel like a lot of the smaller candidates never win elections. And I don't think it's because, you know, everyone's voting within party lines. I feel that in some cases, because sometimes too, when people go to the polls and vote, they like usually it's, you know, governor elections and presidential elections are the two main elections that draw people in.
Yep.
A lot of times people, if there's no governor or president, just a midterm election, not everybody goes and votes. Now, if not everybody's going out and voting, you're not going to get an accurate count of who's truly the most popular candidate.
Or your voice heard.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, at the age of 18, you attain the right to vote as a United States citizen. And I think that every U.S. citizen 18 and older should exercise that right. I mean, that's an important right. That gives you the right to have say in who our leader's going to be. And
Great.
I feel like a lot of people, unfortunately, don't vote. And I think we got to go out and vote. And that will give everybody truly the accurate description. Like I was saying before,
Perfect.
I think in presidential elections, like, you know, I think, you know, pretty close to being accurate. But I'm saying in terms of other elections, like in terms of like even with this upcoming special election, you know, see, these are the type of elections that not everybody votes in, not everybody votes in primaries, and everybody needs to vote in those elections because people need to vote in every election. Like when you get your polling place in the mail, go out and go vote.
Boom. Perfect. That's perfect, Ryan. Listen, that's really all the time that we have then. I want to thank you for watching Access Spotlight, and thanks, Ryan, for being on the show.
It was
Really
a pleasure
appreciate
being
it.
on here. I'm glad I got the chance to tell everybody who I am and